Good morning, church. Welcome to Church Online. My name is Justin.
And I'm Lauren. We are so glad you're tuning in this morning.
If this is your first time joining us, why don't you take a second and text GLC Guest to 97,000 to fill out a digital Connect card.
We want to connect with you and send you a gift to welcome you to GrowLife.
Yes, and since we are all tuning in online this morning, why don't you take a second and click share on this message?
Yes, share this message. It's super easy to do on Facebook. And if you're with us on YouTube, you can easily copy the link and go ahead and text it to some of your friends and family.
So we hope you had a great Christmas. It has been such an incredible week here at GrowLife.
I'm still reminiscing on how amazing Christmas Eve candlelight service was. Such a powerful night celebrating the birth of Jesus. I believe it's so important to slow down and reflect on who God is and be reminded of the true reason we celebrate Christmas, which is why Thursday was so amazing.
Seriously, and I'm super excited for this morning's service because we have the opportunity to take a look back at some of the key moments at our church in 2020 and how God used a year like this one to do some pretty amazing things.
What an awesome opportunity to sit and reflect on this year and everything it consisted of. Justin, what was the highlight of your year?
Probably the biggest highlight was moving here, getting to know the area, the food scene, the coffee scene. What about you, Lauren?
Honestly, it was quarantine. I really enjoyed that time of just spending some quality time with my loved ones, and I think it's some time I won't ever get again, so I really took advantage of it.
Well, way to keep a positive look on that time.
Thanks.
I know 2020 is probably never going to be forgotten, and yes, for some it's for negative reasons, but I think it's so important to recognize that God still moved and that it's something to celebrate.
Yes, and as we head into the new year, we're getting ready to launch 21 Days of Prayer on January 10th.
Right, and at the start of every year as a church, we take 21 days in January to refocus our hearts, pray, and fast. So I challenge you to begin thinking about how you are going to be intentional this year in participating in 21 days of prayer.
I believe fasting is such an awesome way to focus our hearts on God. And you don't have to choose to fast food. You can fast anything, like social media, technology, sweets, Netflix, anything that will help you take your focus off of yourself and put it onto Jesus.
Yeah, so start thinking about how you're going to be intentional and join us this 21 days of prayer. And next Sunday, we will be back in person and online at 9:30 and 11 a.m. So we will be meeting in person at 4575 Pet Lane, and we are so excited to ring in the new year with you.
So at GrowLife, we believe generosity is our privilege. There are a few different ways you can give. Today, since you're joining us online, you can give at growlifechurch.com, or you can give by texting GrowLife to 77977.
So the holiday season really does have me thinking about generosity and how it is such a blessing to be able to give. My favorite types of gifts are the ones that don't even cost a lot, but you know that someone really thought about you and went out of their way to give you something that they knew you would love. Giving is always about the heart. It's not about the dollar amount, but rather a willingness to trust God with our money and give to Him what we know and He would love. So today, let's give God a good gift by being generous with what He's blessed us with.
That's so good. Well, hey, we are so happy that you've joined us for Church Online this morning. I'm so excited for what God has in store for us today as we take a moment to reflect on 2020. As you tune in, I challenge you to begin reflecting on all that God did in your life this year, and remember that God doesn't waste a thing. So let's stand to our feet and let's get ready to worship.
Worthy of every song we could ever sing, worthy of all the praise. put my trust in you alone, and not be shaken, and I will build my life upon your love. It is a firm foundation, and I will put my trust in you alone, and I will not be shaken. Holy, there is no one like you. There is none beside you. Open up my eyes and wonder. Show me who you are and fill me with your heart and lead me in your love to those around. Holy, there is no one like you. There is none beside. Open up my eyes and wonder. Show me who you are. Fill me with your heart in your love. Oh, I will build, and I will build my life upon your love. It is a firm foundation. I will put my trust in you alone, and I will not be shaken. Bring God, come, turn this thing around. God, turn it around. God, turn it around. God, turn it around. I'm calling on the name that changes everything. God, turn it around. God, turn it around. God, turn it around. Oh, my hope is in the name of Jesus. Breakthrough will come in the name of Jesus. Bring God, come. He's up to something. God is doing something. Right now, He's healing someone. He's saving someone. God is doing something. Oh, right now, He's healing someone. He's saving someone. God is doing something. Oh, right now, He's moving mountains, making a way for someone. God is doing something. Oh, right now, He's moving mountains, making a way for someone. God is doing something. Oh, my hope is in the name of Jesus. Breakthrough will come in the name of Jesus. And God's turning up, God's turning up, God's turning up, and God's turning around, God's turning up, God's turning up. Oh, my hope is in the name of Jesus. Breakthrough will come in the name of Jesus. God's turning around, God's turning around, God's turning around. God's turning around, God's turning around, God's turning around.
Hey GrowLife family, welcome to our special Church Online end of year service. We're actually calling this a year in review. And I just believe that there's something powerful in looking back at the past year and what God has done in 2020. And so I'm here with the staff and we're just gonna kind of relive some moments and what God has done in our church, what He's spoken to us, and look back and kind of be encouraged and remember some of the things God has told us. And I just think it's gonna be a fun, different type of service today. And so we hope you guys enjoy it. I wanna go back to the very first Sunday of 2020, and my old youth pastor came in and actually preached a message called The Power of Obedience. The Power of Obedience. Pastor Jamie Kent. And there was a principle there where he just said that there's power in your yes. Yeah. Saying yes to God and then being obedient to what He's called us to do. And I think this has been a year where so many of us have maybe said yes to something in faith and watched the power of that obedience kind of play out.
Yeah. I think for me, my biggest yes this year was moving to Florida.
Yeah.
I mean, I moved 10 hours away.
Right.
Birmingham, Alabama, Tampa, Florida. I'm really loving it here at GrowLife, but that definitely is my biggest yes this year. And I hate the heat, by the way. It's 65 degrees and it's December.
Do you miss the snow, shoveling it?
We didn't do that. Okay. It's still Alabama. I don't live in Michigan. I didn't live in Michigan.
I guess it's not that cold in Alabama. All right. Florida boy.
It's colder than here.
It's not difficult. True. For me, I would say that my biggest yes for sure was also joining this team. But one thing that I learned from that message that kind of just like spearheaded the whole year for me was that sometimes our yes is not going to be the most logical decision. It's not going to make the most sense. It's not going to be the most comfortable. But I really do feel like when we take a leap of faith and we we step out in faith, that God honors that yes, and that he does amazing things through that yes. And so that's something that I feel like was an awesome thing to start out the year.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, and that message actually kicked off our 21 days of prayer and fasting. And so we went right into 21 days of prayer and fasting, which we do in January at the beginning of each year. But this year was different. I feel like it was special because we did the Philippians series in conjunction with our 21 days of prayer. And it just made that worship, prayer, reading, all kind of put it together. It was like this elementary principles of faith all stacked up together.
Yeah.
And we launched soap journals for the first time, which Candy spearheaded that project.
We did. That was so fun. We all had those really pretty journals that we were like reading the same scriptures every single day, and it just kind of felt like, like you said, kind of old-fashioned Bible study.
Yeah.
And then we came back together on Sundays, and studying what we had learned through the week. So it was pretty cool.
It was powerful and it was awesome. And one of the moments from week 4 was actually a message titled "Practice How You Play." Practice how you play. And man, I just kind of want to go back and listen to what God spoke to us as a church in that moment. So check out this clip.
Because prayer brings peace. Peace brings protection. Protection brings praise. Protection brings praise. Because there's a peace that surpasses understanding. And your situation didn't change because you're still sitting in prison, but all of a sudden you're praising and you're singing, and the people around you are listening, and they're going, what is it that you have that I don't have? And you get to say, it wasn't a changed circumstance. It's that the Prince of Peace, the King of Kings, the Lord of Lords, the one who went to the cross and died for my sin and rose again so that there would be victory from the grave, had made a decision for me that when I chose to follow him, my life would never be the same. Paul practiced prayer. He practiced peace, and he practiced praise. Practice is a routine or a habit. Philippians 4:12-13. Let's get that up there real quick. It says, I know how to be brought low, and I know how to abound. And in every circumstance, I've learned the secret of facing plenty and hunger, abundance and need. And then, come on, this is a verse I've heard a long time. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Can I give you some context? Because I think it's so important to understand 11 and 12 before we get to 13. Because I've seen 13 quoted, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. I can do everything. He's the one that gives me strength. And what happens is we take that verse out of context and we go, I got a vision for my life. I've got a plan for what I want to do with my business and my family. I have an idea. And so we go, hey God, just so you know, I can do everything that I wanted to do with you who strengthens me. And we head down a journey and a path that we weren't called to in the first place, utilizing scriptures out of context. And we think that that's a motivational verse for me to accomplish what I want to do. And we end up at the end of the road and we're like, I'm so disappointed, God. Where was the strength you promised? Paul's saying, verse 12, put it back up there. I know how to be brought low, and I know how to abound. In every circumstance, I've learned the secret. Church, you want to know the secret? Paul's telling Philippi, this is the secret. No matter what my lot in life changes it, it's Christ who gives me strength.
What a powerful series in Philippians. And I think another big highlight of the year happened on Vision Sunday, which we had a party in the parking lot, and God had the vision for our church that it was going to be going public for 2020. Yeah. And little did we know that going public was going to mean so much more than we thought, because that was our last Sunday at Veterans Elementary before COVID hit.
A good thing we threw a party.
That's right. Yeah, exactly. Matt and I were actually at a wedding rehearsal on Friday night before the 15th, and he got the phone call that said, no more. The end.
I remember getting off the phone call, and then you were like, what's going on? And I'm like, apparently not Sunday service.
That's right.
So, I mean, we just immediately were like, okay, we have a wedding that day. We got this stuff going on. And I remember on March 15th, sitting on my couch, people texting, what are we doing? Are we going online? Are we still gathering? And I was like, I'm not honestly sure yet. Like, we're trying to figure that out. And, but the following Sunday, March 22nd, the team pulled together, and, it's really amazing to see what God did to stretch us and grow us and expand us in this season. But we were online, and everything that could go wrong probably did.
Yeah.
But we were proud of the fact that for the first time ever, our church went online and innovated and tried something new that we've never really even had to do before. And now here we are. And you remember the staff meeting, we sit down and I'm like, all right, guys, we need to have a 6-week plan on what to do for COVID.
We're like, 6 weeks?
Right, we thought you were crazy.
Like eternity.
That's right. It wasn't going to last 6 weeks.
And I'm like, but we need to be ahead. We need to be planned. We got to figure out, just in case it takes the full 6 weeks.
Right.
3.5 months later.
Right.
Yeah, that was wild.
But yeah, so going public meant so much more than we thought on that Vision Sunday. Yeah. We actually went public. We went all online. We reached more people than we ever have before. Our audience grew, so that meant we were able to point so many more people to Jesus.
Right.
Yeah.
Literally, we had probably over 500 different followers on social media that we just got added to people that were hearing the word of God. So incredible, the fact that that's only God. Going public, and then we literally go public. So let's take a look back at Vision Sunday and what going public really meant for our church in 2020.
Romans 1:16 says this, "For I am unashamed of the gospel." What does it mean to go public? Can I explain this for a second? You ever visited a city? You go travel these local coffee shops and pop in. Wow, this place is amazing. The coffee's so good. These donuts, I've never had anything like this. And you're like, normally it comes with this phrase. Oh yeah, baby. This is the best kept secret in town. Oh man, this is the best kept secret in town. And what do? Well, we don't want the masses to show up. So we got to keep the best kept secret in town, because if everyone shows up, they're going to ruin the good thing we have. Can I tell you 2 things that should never be the best kept secret in town? The community that is pursuing God and pursuing people should never be the best kept secret in town. GrowLife Church should not be the best kept secret in town. And the second thing is the gospel, the good news of Jesus Christ should not be the best kept secret that I keep in my heart and God has changed my life, but nobody knows about it. Those are 2 things that need to be going public and vocal and vibrant, because I'm unashamed of the gospel, Paul writes in Romans. I'm unashamed of my story. I'm getting baptized in front of everybody. And I'm saying this is what sin used to be. This is what it used to look like. But let me tell you what God has done in the last 11 years. I'm going public with my faith. I'm going public. The things that were hidden, the things I might be ashamed about, I'm going public. The things that God has done in my life that maybe not a lot of people know about, but it's been pretty supernatural and miraculous, I'm going public. I've been a little bit ashamed of my story, but I'm going public because God's writing something new.
So what an awesome word, just as we went into a season that nobody was really expecting and nobody had ever navigated before. Definitely a time when we were kind of isolated from each other. Mm-hmm. I remember just having a really hard time not being around my friends, my people. But really God positioned us to go public with our faith in a totally different way than we ever had before.
Yeah. For sure. Our serve teams definitely went public. I mean, they were out in full force, like with the Easter boxes, which was so fun, delivering 117 Easter boxes to the students and kids.
Yeah, everybody missed the Easter egg hunt that we normally do each year, but you guys made a way to still make that happen.
Make it special. The day was still special.
It was so fun.
It was so cool because I felt like the serve teams really did just rally together. We put together all of those Easter baskets and we got to individually deliver the Easter baskets to each and every kid and student at GrowLife, and just leave it at their doorstep and then ring the doorbell and go back to our cars. And we didn't really get to have much conversation, but we did get to show up for them and say, like, we see you and we're here for you, even though we're in isolation, which I felt like was so powerful for all the kids and students to be able to see.
Yeah, I think so too. And then remember the portraits?
Oh yeah, for Mother's Day.
Those were awesome.
The portraits. What were you doing for Mother's Day?
Shoveling snow. In May.
I was just going to say, in May.
I was shoveling snow in May in Alabama.
You were still
100
in Alabama. Were you missing us? I think you were.
Never is 100
Did we
degrees
know
in
you then?
Alabama. There is no way.
You think it snows year round in the South? Like I live in Michigan. I didn't live in Michigan.
We don't know. We just live in Florida. We don't know any different.
I think one of the coolest things though is the fact that the serve teams were mobilized to go and serve and be the hands and feet, and connection was so important during that time because it was a time of isolation and feeling alone. And what I love, even with our life group leaders, they extended that life group season and everybody went on to Zoom. I mean, the world went on to Zoom, but our life groups all jumped onto Zoom just to be able to help and serve. And I just think that there was a ton of ways to be able to do that.
Yeah. It was pretty cool because I liked delivering the Easter boxes just because I wanted to see people's faces, even if it was from far away.
Yeah.
I had missed them so
Way
much.
from the car.
Definitely. You're like, hi. Yeah, from far away.
That was so fun. But my all-time favorite memory of this year was our Mother's Day video. So let's check it out again.
One of my mom's favorite jokes goes like this. It goes, there are two muffins sitting in an oven. One muffin looks to the other and says, it's getting hot in here. The other one looks back and says, holy crap, a talking muffin.
Hey Mom, I just wanted to let you know that I love you and I wanted to remind you that I appreciate you.
My mom is a good mom because she cares for us a lot.
Happy Mother's Day to my beautiful mother. You are my favorite person in the entire world.
Something I love about my mom is she is very kind and funny. She's the best mom.
Trust me guys, there's nothing that is more contagious than my mother's laugh. Even if the joke isn't funny, if she laughs at the joke, everybody in the room will crack up.
I love you because you're a strong, caring, independent woman. You take care of me and have unconditional love.
Thank you so much for being the best mom I could have ever asked for.
I love my mom because she is kind and loving.
I just love that you always try to take care of us kids and also just people in the community. You are a mom to not only Matt and I, but to so many others.
I love you because you're the best mom in the whole world.
You've always been there for me no matter what. Love you.
You are our best friend, biggest supporter, the greatest teacher, and an amazing role model. We love you.
I love my mommy. She loves me and she cares about me, and sometimes she even buys me stuff. She's always protects me whenever I have dangerous things.
She's funny. She's always ready and willing to give us advice, whether or not we ask for it.
She's always there for me when I need her. She always loves me, and she's gonna love me when I die.
I can honestly say that you're a very good mother because no matter the situation, you always aim to help teach me and help me improve to become the best version of myself.
My mom is lovely and careful.
My mom loves embarrassing me by doing TikTok dances and saying good job in front of my friends.
Now I realize that other people are going to say the same thing, but no, my mom is the best. If people tell me that I'm like my mom, that is the greatest compliment that I could ever get.
Thank you for being my rock, and thank you for being there with me through thick and thin, no matter what we're going through.
Thank you so much for everything that you do for all of us. We know that our lives would not be the same without you. We love you.
I love my mom because she is always happy.
I just really love my mom because I feel like she's a leader, not only to me and my family, but to all the women.
I love my mom's sense of humor and her laugh.
Happy Mother's Day. How do you say it?
Happy Mother's Day, Mom.
Freaking Mother's Day. That is funny.
Well, that's so awesome. I heard this story about a ghost boat at Church of the Lake. Can someone please explain this story?
Yes. So, a little behind the scenes for you. We were at Church of the Lake. Pastor Matt was preaching, and he was in probably one of the most intense parts of his message. And we're all there. There's probably 10 of us. We're all spread out watching him. And behind him, we just see this little John boat, and it's going by. And we all start to notice that there's nobody driving the John boat. It is just driving by. Someone is laying back in the John boat while it's driving by behind Pastor Matt, and everyone just cannot hold in their laughter.
So funny.
It was probably the funniest moment, but we all felt so bad because Pastor Matt was preaching, he was almost done with his message.
So funny.
But a really key point.
A key point, and we could not stop laughing. And he even turned around a little, what are they laughing at? But he didn't get it. So.
It's one thing to be communicating and everyone's laughing, but you're not telling a joke.
Yeah, right.
And so I'm what is happening? So I'm looking back and I don't get it. I don't see the invisible ghost boat, but it goes by. And so that's a little behind the scenes of Church Online. And one of the things I love about Church Online, one, not only was it our most engaged post during that season and just powerful service, but it was beautiful. I mean, just being able to capture all of those moments, being able to worship, talk about going public, being able to do that with the team. And one of the things, especially in that season, as we were looking across the board, it takes a team to pull this stuff off. And all of this is lifting up and sharing God's glory. Mm-hmm. Whether it comes to the videographers and their skills, the editors, the people that will operate on the sound. I mean, it took a ton of people loading gear, unloading gear, and doing it all in a safe, COVID-free type of way. That we would be able to provide something that would bring the gospel into our city in such a powerful way and a powerful moment. It was definitely a powerful weekend.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, hey, let's flash back to a moment of worship that we had. We had our friend Josiah Kent lead us in worship that weekend at Church of the Lake. So let's relive that moment.
Welcome to GrowLife, everybody. Come on, let's put our hands together and sing. Satan fall like lightning. I saw darkness run for cover, but the miracle that I just can't get over, my name is registered in heaven. I believe in signs and wonders. I have a resurrection power. Still the miracle that I just can't get over, my name is registered in heaven. My praise belongs to you forever. This is my testimony from death to life, 'cause grace rewrote my story. I'll testify, by Jesus Christ the righteous, I'm justified. This is my testimony. This is my testimony. Oh, 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 oh. Come together, sons and daughters, bought by blood and washed in water. Sing the praises of the Spirit, Son and Father. Our God will finish what He started. Sing that again, our God will finish what He started. This is my testimony from death to life, 'cause grace rewrote my story. I'll testify, by Jesus Christ the righteous, I'm justified. This is my testimony. This is my testimony. Then you're not done. Greater things are still to come. Oh, I believe. If not dead, then you're not done. Greater things are still to come. Oh, I believe if I'm not dead, then you're not done. Greater things are still to come. Oh, I believe if I'm not dead, then you're not done. Greater things are still to come. Oh, I believe. This is my testimony from death to life. 'Cause grace rewrote my story. I'll testify. By Jesus Christ the righteous, I'm justified. This is my testimony. This is, sing it out, come on. This is my testimony from death to life. 'Cause grace rewrote my story. I'll testify. By Jesus Christ the righteous, I'm justified. This is my testimony. This is my testimony. Come on, we celebrate the Lord. Thank you.
That's probably one of my favorite worship songs, and I just love. I think it was timely. I think that album, Graves in the Gardens, was super timely, and it was definitely like a little Spotify thing.
Yes,
that was like my top album
Me too.
the whole time. Here's the other thing, though. In the summer, I think we really, as a nation, not even just our church, but just as a nation, there was a lot of grieving. There were a lot of barriers being built, racial tension, conversations, confusion, in a season that was already seeped with isolation and people feeling alone and ostracized already. And I think the enemy used that to really compound all of these things that created a lot of anxiety and confusion and frustration. And one of the things that we really stepped into was, hey, let's start having these conversations. And I love that what it built was an empathy inside of our church to go, maybe there are people that think different, that speak different, that act different, that look different, and give us the ability to really empathize and hear people's stories. And during that time, we were able to do a public conversation with one of our elders, Mr. Patrick Burgess, and just what he brought. He's one of our elders, and just brought the conversation and said, hey, this is my experience. This is what I've been through. One of our overseers had a conversation with Pastor Jimmy, and we were able to lean into that during that season as well, and just go, hey, we don't want to shy away from the topic, but we want to lean in.
And I think that's something really cool about those different conversations was that, and something that really taught me was that in a season where there was a lot of confusion, like, I know that we need to be addressing this, but how are we supposed to address it? I feel like we as a church really modeled what it looked like to show empathy and to have those conversations, so that I knew watching those conversations, I knew how to handle it. I knew, okay, it's okay to have those conversations and to open the floor to my friends who are different than me and believe different than me. And also just the fact that, like, as a church, we didn't shy away from the real important conversations, the actual things that were going on in the world, because you open your phone and that was all that was happening for a solid month. That's all you saw. So there's no way that we as a church could have not addressed it. And I think that we addressed it in a really good way.
I think for me, it just came down to like the basic truths, just like to hear all the hurt and, you know, and all the division. I just wanted to be able to speak, like I said, the basic truths of, like, God loves you. We are God's children. You know what I mean? And I wanted everyone to hear that. And, you know, I was proud of our church and the way that we came together. And it was just a really, you know, like all of 2020 was just a, you know,
impactful, timely, stretching.
For sure. So
I really love the whole Building Bridges series that you preached, but I was thinking a lot about this since we were going to be reviewing these things, and like the Grace Bridge really spoke to me. Just the need for a grace culture, you know, like especially during that time, like it was we were really isolated, and it's really easy to sit behind a keyboard and a monitor and just like dehumanize people, really, at the end of the day. And I really felt like those messages and the Grace Bridge specifically spoke to, you know, like the value. Like, we don't have to agree with each other to honor each other. Honor doesn't mean agreement. Honor just means that we value people the way that God does. So I thought that was really awesome.
That's so good.
Why don't we just take a minute and revisit the Grace Bridge?
You want to know how to have a grace culture? Grace culture comes from releasing people from shame instead of catching them in their guilt. A grace culture comes from releasing people from their shame instead of trapping them in their guilt. Grace culture will cover people with forgiveness, even if they didn't earn it. A grace culture will humanize people that the world tries to weaponize. Jesus humanized the problem in front of them. Here's this woman, she's caught in adultery. And he goes, whoa, whoa, whoa. I'm gonna try to start some equal playing field because I know the F's on y'all's report cards too. But guess what? I may know them and I'm not gonna hold them against you. And so he just elevates this woman into a human status. Dehumanizing people's easy. We learned it on the playground. We have names for people that we call whatever we want to call them. And it's hurtful, but you idiot, dehumanizing. Moron, you dehumanizing. The moment we can dehumanize somebody, we won't value them. And Jesus is showing these Pharisees that they lost the value of the person because they were trying to test and catch and bring shame using God's law. And he said, this is not what it's about. You're missing the point. Grace culture will humanize people, and the culture of grace, what Jesus does is he exonerates people. People that were guilty are declared free. People that were covered in shame are declared covered in grace. People that didn't do anything to earn mercy receive it because the cross and the grave was worth it. Because Jesus could have said, I'm done with all of you humans. You have made way too many mistakes. But he decided that the culture of grace would humanize people in the midst of their problem. He didn't want to trap them. He didn't want to catch them. He wanted to come and pay the price for them. He said, hey, I got a culture that's so kingdom, that's so loving, that not only will love and unity be the bridges that you can cross, but I'm coming because my grace is so full and my truth is so full that I can't leave you in your shame. So I'm coming to set you free and rescue you from where you are. There's a bridge that you can cross. And it's called the Grace Bridge. Because, believer, you've been looking and operating from the world standard for way too long. You said yes to me one day and you started living in shame land again. And I've already paid for that. I've already set you free from that. I need you to cross the bridge of grace because I didn't come to save you to leave you where you were. I didn't come to rescue you so you could have the same habits and the same problems and the same issues and the same shame, listening to the same accuser over your head day and night. I didn't do that. I got a grace bridge that sets you free.
Well, hey, my favorite part of this year was getting hired.
Come on!
So good, right?
But before I was even hired, I visited GrowLife Church.
Yeah.
That weekend we did 4 and 7, which is, if you don't know, we had 4 communicators speak in 7 minutes. I love getting to see leaders in our church talk about the vision, which is know God, find freedom, discover purpose, and make a difference. And another thing that Sunday that really stuck out to me and spoke to me was how much people genuinely cared. And that's something like when we were at staff retreat, we were just kind of writing out like really notable things in our church, and cared was in all caps on a board. So I thought that was a really awesome Sunday and a great first Sunday for me.
Yeah. I also love that Sunday because it enables us to empower future communicators and give a voice to what God is speaking to different individuals. And so it's awesome.
Yeah, why don't we just take a minute and revisit the 4 on 7? This is Drew Bailey talking about how you can make a difference. Whose son is that? Let's watch.
I don't know what I'm doing, but I know that I can do the next right thing. I know that I can take the next step. Whatever that step looks like, take that step. Whoever it is that you thought of, take that step. So here's some real examples of that. Here at church, if you've come in person, you've seen Kat. You've seen that smile before pre-mask. You've seen that smile and the jumping with joy, the authentic joy to see you. Maybe she doesn't even know you yet, but that hug, that embrace, that feeling that you get, that's a yes. That's a step. That's the next right thing. She didn't hug everybody in the world and make everybody feel that at once. You were the one. If you've ever come in here, if you have heard a famous shout out from Matt, if you've been shouted out by him and you felt like you're the only person in the room, your head gets big, you're so excited, you felt that was that next right step. He shouted you out, whether you're a franchise, Chipotle, or whatever. He shouted you out. You were special. That was the next right thing. If you've gone and gotten lunch with my mom, Candy, or Chrissy, and you've sat there and you've been able to pour your heart out and had somebody really listen to you, you've seen and you felt that warmth. They weren't able to give that to everybody in the world, but they were able to give it to you. Wow. You were the one. How can you do that for somebody? If you've ever come into church and you've seen, whether it's through your TV at home or your phone and in person, and you've seen Sharon who stands here and she is passionately worshiping and giving her all, she may not even realize it. That's a yes. That's a stepping in. That moment, the whole time, she is having an intimate moment with God, but she is showing her yes to you. She's given that, and then you can somehow grab some of that, and it makes a difference in your life. So what I would ask you is, like she said, your sphere of influence, whether it's sea turtles or whatever, wherever you go, you found that passion. So now we've identified it. Make that difference. That giant statistic, it's going to stop looking so scary when we realize who lives inside of us. What we have inside of us is so powerful that we don't need to look at the 900 kids. We need to look at the one. So I would just encourage you, if it's family, if it's a friend, just take that step. I promise you, it's scary. I will admit that, and I'm with you. I get that it's scary. But the difference you can make, and if you can look back 2 years and you can remember names and people and stories of people that you changed their life, it's worth those scary moments. It's worth the kind of being scared to get up here and talk to you. It's worth it, because if it would change your life and it would cause you to take that step, I would do it every week. I just want to drive that home. There is a miracle that is waiting to happen if the church and the body would notice the one. And
so another really cool part of 2020 was that we got the opportunity to host and hear from, several different communicators, which was awesome, just to have someone else kind of speak into the church and speak into my life. That was really cool part.
Yeah, the Bible actually says that it's through the multitude of counsel there's wisdom, and I think it actually keeps the church healthy when we're able to hear from different voices and what God is doing in different areas of our city, in different regions, and having all those guest communicators come and say, man, this is what God has been teaching me and speaking into my life was huge. I know I learned a ton from all of those that came.
Yeah, so cool. We got to hear from our founding pastor, Pastor James Dodds-White.
And Pastor June from Radiant Church.
Pastor Jason, he was there a couple times from the chapel.
So good. Pastor Kyle, so many voices. One of our overseers, Pastor Andrew Gard, and then one that just is special to me is the fact that our pastor during Church Online season, my pastor, got to speak and communicate. He's one of the overseers, so Pastor Q, and just having his voice in my life and in our church is so key and crucial, and just keeps the whole thing healthy.
For sure.
Well, let's go ahead and check out those guest speakers and what they've spoken to our church this season.
I believe if we're not deliberate about sticking to what God said, not being duped by what other people say.
Can I just encourage you that if we stay on the straight and narrow, if we stay focused, that if God be for us, that nothing and no one can be against it. If we focus in these moments, we'll find that we're not swayed by our appetites.
And you will move towards that mountain with the faith that by the time you get there, it will be gone. You always move in the direction of your strongest thought. So, because of that, remember, doubt enlarges obstacles, faith diminishes them.
So as we unveil, that was the first step, and we behold the glory, as we behold Jesus, then we're transformed into that image, even as by the Holy Spirit.
But the great thing about God is that he says, you know what? I'm going to give you faith. I'm going to help you know me. I want you to fall in love with me. So I don't want to give you a plan that's good for 6 months. I want to give you a step that is good for the next day. God wants you to live in faith, not dependent on a plan.
I think those are just some powerful moments of what God has spoken into our church. And what I love about the year in review is these are highlights, but there's so many other moments. At the movies. It was our first ever kids at the movies. We did in-person and online services. We were able to go to the hospital and deliver donuts and pray for people. Like, we put 21 days of prayer going public. There were so many moments to be able to look back and reflect on. And we got 4 more days before 2020 kind of comes to a close. And what does that look like, a year in review for your family? What would it look like the next 4 days to sit down with whoever you have, family, parents, you can have your kids, and say, man, what was your highlight? What was a memorable moment in 2020 that we can celebrate and give God praise for? Because what I know for sure, when I look back on 2020, I want to be able to look back and go, man, what a blessed, exciting, joyful year. And there's so much that happened, but there's also so much to be grateful for. I know for sure, forever, Brindley, my daughter, was born on 2020. And so we're going to be able to look back on this year and be like, man, what an amazing year to look back on. And so the next 4 days, sit down with your family, take some time, and just say, hey, let's look at our year. Let's review what has God done? What has he said? What can we praise him for? And then we'll get together and we'll see you again in 2021. Come on.
That's awesome.
Love y'all. See ya in January.